Governments deny it. Militaries deny it. Even the mainstream media denies it. But they are here, and they've been here for a very long time. The Mutual UFO Network has been on the front lines uncovering the truth since 1969, and now we're sharing that truth with you. Welcome to MUFON What's Up with your hosts, Katie Page, Christopher DePerno, and Katie Cook, exclusively on the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. Wondering what's up? So are we.
What's up? It is Tuesday night, and you're listening to MUFON What's Up Radio, the show that says discovery starts with curiosity, and curiosity starts with MUFON, brought to you by KGRADB.com. Please go to their website and subscribe. There's so much great content on there. It's great to listen to in the evenings instead of, turn off the news and listen to KGRADB. That's what I say. Anyway, as always, we're endorsed by MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, asking that all-important question, are we alone in the universe? I am your host, Katie Page, the Colorado MUFON State Director and International MUFON Mars Administrator. Tonight, we are bringing back on the show Linda Zimmermann, and I cannot wait to continue our discussion with Linda. We really got into the Hudson Valley and UFOs, but this time we're going to kind of take a turn, talk more about abduction, the paranormal, some other really interesting things that Linda is into. So I can't wait to get to her. First, I would like to bring in onto the show my co-host, the beautiful, talented, into all things UFO and paranormal, Miss Katie Cook. Welcome, Katie.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you, my darling?
Look how cute your hair looks. I am doing well.
It wasn't a good day for it to be down. Sometimes you just have a messy hair day. You just throw it up in a big old clip and say, "Oh look, I did this on purpose."
I love the messy hair day look. Anyway,
well, thank you. It's a good look for a good show. I'm excited about Linda being on again.
Absolutely. And let's bring on, Mr. Christopher DePerno, the state director for New York. He's also on the ERT, and his compadres, Jerry and Jenna.
Hello, look at my hair. Oh my God.
It looks beautiful today up here. You got the messy look going on too.
It's just crazy. Well, what's going on? Well, who's interrupting us?
Wait, I'm getting a phone call.
Oh boy.
Hold on a second.
Oh dear.
Oh no.
Hello?
Hello, this is Giuseppe from Heavenly Pizza. Is it Jerry there?
I'm sorry, Jerry's not available right now.
Look, you tell him that we can put the pepperoni in a calzone. We can put the sausage in a calzone. We can put cheese in a calzone. But we can't put a cow's ass in a calzone. What's the matter with you guys? You want drugs?
I'll give him the message.
He's trying it again.
What can I tell you? This guy, he loves Italian food.
I
don't blame him.
I don't think you can order that cow's piece of property.
I
didn't say it.
Don't say it. Jerry. I don't even know what to say.
I don't know. But I could say, Katie, what do you have to kick us off tonight?
Well, what do I have indeed? Okay, so I found a really fun meme that I know our guest tonight, Linda, is also a fan of because she actually posted this on her Facebook page. All right, for those of you just listening, okay, so it's Giorgio from Ancient Aliens, and he's going from, when we first saw him, kind of the not so outrageous hair. It gets a little poofier in the next shot, a lot poofier in the next shot, and then by the end, it's huge, and it says, what if the alien guy isn't crazy? He's just being abducted really slowly.
Poofy hair. Proofy crazy here.
All right. And our pop of the week is in honor of our guest tonight, too, because, of course, she's not just an amazing UFO investigator, but also a great ghost hunter. So our paranormal pop is a ghosty. Can you pull that? Yeah, pull up the picture there. Look how cute that guy is.
Oh,
ooh, it's a ghost. I love that. So that ghost pop can be ordered like all the paranormal pops at paranormalpops.com. Wendy strikes again. Wendy Robinson, we love you. Your pops
Thank you,
are the best.
Wendy. Thank you.
We love you, Wendy.
I too have my ghost in honor of Linda over my shoulder here. There's my light up ghosty. So we are going a little ghosty tonight. And that's okay.
I see. I like it. Yeah. Well, because, all of these things can tie together. We'll, of course, be talking about that. And finally, a friend of mine sent me these. Well, she didn't actually send me the shoes, but she sent me the idea. So if we can pull those up. Oh, it's kind of a blurry picture, but these are Vans and they have little aliens and UFOs all over them. I've always loved Vans, but now I love them even more. And, Christmas is coming up. So, if my husband's listening, hint, hint. And as you can see, they're black and white. I would probably take a marker and color them in. So the picture's a little bit blurry.
I like the purple.
Yes. Oh my
inserts.
God, they're so cute. Like
Yeah.
a rocket ship inside. I'm obsessed with these. So you can go to vans.com and you can see a much better, more clear picture of those. They're so cute.
I think Chris, Katie, and I think the three of us need to have matching Vans UFO shoes. Next time we're together, we will sport our.
Maybe they have
matching
little
shoes.
baby ones for Jerry.
Over my dead body, I'm going to wear those shoes. That's where I draw the line.
He'd kick you in the head, wouldn't he?
Kick me in the head. Oh, yeah.
Jerry
Probably eat
was.
it.
Are you saying you wouldn't wear those shoes?
You're right. I would not wear those shoes.
They're adorable. What's your problem?
I buy them for my wife,
$20,
but I'm
$20,
not
put 'em
going
on.
to wear them.
All right, we're going to get you in a pair and we're going to take a picture because I think
Yes,
people
we
will
are.
appreciate that. All right, well, enough about
Well,
shoes.
when you get the
stuff.
picture, make sure you get it 6 feet underground because that's where I'll be when you put those out.
Whatever. Fashion wouldn't kill you, Little fashion would go a long way.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a fashion guy. Yeah.
What's up with the news? What's up with the news?
The news. Let's get to the news this week.
I'm
We
so
got some
scared.
great stories here. And love is in the air, so let's bring it up. Arkansas couple credits Bigfoot with bringing them together. An Arkansas couple credits Bigfoot with bringing them together after a chance encounter led to the duo discovering that they both had an eerie, similar Sasquatch sighting in the past. According to a local media report, Darren and Debbie are the pair at the center of this cryptozoological love story, which has blossomed into the state's Nash County. Do not drink the water in Nash County. Years ago, Darren had been walking through the woods when this creature came running from my right to my left, broad daylight. The bipedal beast, he claims, was what people would call a Bigfoot. And the sighting was so frightening that it left the man frozen in his tracks. Meanwhile, at around the same time frame, Debbie and her mother had their own run-in with a famed cryptoid. The Bigfoot walked out of the woods, she recalls, and just stopped right of the road. My mom stopped the car, and we're staring at Bigfoot, and he's staring at us, and we don't know what to do. How about run him over? Anyways, let's get on with this. While each of them is certain that they saw Sasquatch, they both likely kept quiet about their experiences until one fateful day when they just so happened to be shopping at the same convenience store. Out in the parking lot, Debbie spotted an "I brake for Bigfoot" bumper sticker on Darren's truck, which prompted her to ask about the decal. In response, he said, "Well, I got to tell you the whole story," and detailed his Sasquatch sighting. As one might imagine, Debbie was astounded by the tale and proceeded to share her own experience with the elusive creature. We were both amazed that we had both seen Bigfoot about the same time and about the same area. She marveled. I seen a lot of things, but they ain't out in the woods. Okay, she marveled. Darren echoed these sentiments, musing that it's almost miraculous because what are the odds out of that meeting the two became friends and over time fell in love. Bigfoot is what
that's
Oh,
brought
so
us together.
I love it.
Yeah, okay, don't drink the water. Debbie declared, which makes it only fitting that their wedding ceremony included a special guest in the form of a person in a Sasquatch costume. Amanda, you got to roll that video. Watch this one.
Some people are certain they've seen Bigfoot. In Nash County, 2 people are united in their belief.
It was pitch black.
Debbie.
We were walking down through the woods.
Darren.
Real hairy, had long arms.
And it was approximately about 7 foot tall.
Darren and Debbie.
Same area, same time frame. I mean, we're about the same age.
But they did not know each other years ago, at the time they each say they saw Bigfoot in the woods of Nash County.
This creature come running from my right to my left, broad daylight, in the open woods.
This Bigfoot walked out of the woods from our right and just stopped in the road. My mom stopped the car, so we're sitting there staring at Bigfoot. He's staring at us, and we didn't know what to do.
The best I can describe is what people would call a Bigfoot. I was scared so bad that I couldn't move.
Do you think you might have been mistaken?
No, I remember it vividly.
I saw what I saw.
But for the most part, they both kept what they saw to themselves.
Almost spot on, pretty much.
But they saw what they saw separately, neither knowing the other, until a chance meeting.
We lived in the same community, or close enough that we visited the same convenience store.
And there was a truck there that had a magnet on it that said, "I brake for Bigfoot."
Darren's truck.
And I was like, wow, I got to find out who that is. I want to know where they got that magnet.
And I said, well, I got to tell you the whole story.
And then I told him my story, and, you know, we were both amazed that we had both seen Bigfoot about the same time in about the same area.
Almost miraculous, because what's the odds?
The odds. And the evens. Their descriptions matched. And in time, they did too.
Yeah, I think Bigfoot's what brought us together.
In matrimony.
Bigfoot was a theme of our wedding, but I didn't know we was going to have a visitor.
Bigfoot.
I was surprised we had a guest.
I guess there's no point in asking you if you believe in Bigfoot.
Oh, I believe. Yeah, there's no doubt.
I do.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
By the way, I use my watch. Okay.
I now believe that white lightning should be illegal.
I
Do not drink
love
white lightning, folks. I told
Okay.
my wife I saw a flying saucer and she tried to have me committed. Anyways, okay. What do you think,
I love
Cookie?
this story. I think this is the sweetest thing in the world. I mean, if you know what you saw, to find somebody else, anybody else that actually has seen the same thing is amazing enough. And then to actually fall in love, that is so awesome. But would you do me a big favor, Chris? Just say Sasquatch one more time.
No, Sasquatch. Sasquatch. NASA. Do I say anything right on this show for God's sake?
No, you did really good.
Sasquatch.
Is that it? You were like
Yeah.
Sasquatch is what you were saying. Sasquatch.
Sasquatch. How
Who
about
says
Bigfoot?
bumper stickers don't bring people together? Those bumper stickers are very, and personal license plates. I mean, I've had a lot of conversations over stickers on my Jeep. And this may not be Bigfoot, but it's
Oh, it's like a
abominable
Yeti.
snowman love. It's a Yeti love.
Oh,
Yeti
I like
love.
it. I like it. There's some big claws. You know what they say about big claws.
Oh, Katie.
Moving on. Moving on.
All right, next story. Here we go. Mysterious cattle mutilation case reported in Alaska. You know, I don't know. Okay, the owners of a ranch in Alaska say that one of their cows recently fell to what appears to have been the mysterious cattle mutilation phenomenon. According to a local media report, the troubling case occurred last week near the community of Delta Junction, sort of like Petticoat Junction for those older people out there, when a pair of little girls stumbled upon the downed creature in a wooded areas adjacent to a field where Tangy and her husband Matt Bates kept. Hey, I'm Tangy Bates. Kept some of their cattle. Eerily, the slain animal bore many of the wounds associated with the cattle mutilation phenomenon, specifically having had its ears, eyes, reproductive organs, and udder removed from what seemed to be a surgical precision by an Italian pizza maker who's got that stuff in a calzone. In response to suggestions that the cow could have been killed by a natural predator, Tangy pointed to the skillful nature of the cuts as an indication that they were not the work of an animal. We have a butcher shop, the ranch owner said. We know the difference. To that end, Tangy Oh, God. Notice that I originally came from Idaho, and we saw Idaho to Alaska. Okay, we've seen this before, where you have cults that have some kind or have come through and do cattle mutilations and take reproductive organs, eyeballs. Sadly, the animal is the third cow that the couple have lost in recent weeks, though it is uncertain if the previous two were killed in a similarly mysterious manner. Hoping for answers, as the death of their cow, the Bates family has offered a $2,500 reward to anyone who can provide information that might provide a break in the case. Meanwhile, authorities in Alaska are also investigating the killing, and tissue samples from all three downed animals have been sent for testing, while Tangy, that's that astronaut drink, Tangy, may have put forward a rather fantastic theory for who could have been behind the mutilation. Scott Mogaraj of the Alaska Farm Bureau offered a slightly less nefarious explanation as to why the cow might have been killed, suggesting that it could have been an individual looking for cheap meat. Yeah, eyeballs. Cheap meat, since groceries are getting pretty dong high. Dong high. Let me tell you something. If you're going to kill a cow, why do you want intestines, the liver? You got prime rib. And you leave it. Then it can't be a human. I'm going to go kill a cow. I'm going to get me the filet mignons. All right, Amanda, roll that video.
Mignon.
The owners of a ranch in Alaska near the community of Delta Junction say that one of their cows recently fell victim to what appears to have been the mysterious cattle mutilation phenomenon. The troubling case occurred the week of August 1, 2022. A pair of little girls stumbled upon the downed creature in a wooded area adjacent to a field where Tangy and her husband Matt Bates keep some of their cattle. Eerily, the slain animal bore many of the wounds associated with the cattle mutilation phenomenon, specifically having had its ears, eyes, reproductive organs, and udder removed with what seemed to be surgical precision. In response to suggestions that the cow could have been killed by a natural predator, Tangy pointed to the skillful nature of the cuts as an indication that they were not the work of an animal. "We have a butcher shop," the ranch owner said. "We know the difference." To that end, Tangy noted that, "I originally come from Idaho, and we've seen this before, where you have cults that have come through and do cattle mutilations and take reproductive organs, eyeballs. Sadly, the animal is actually the third cow that the couple has lost in recent weeks, though it is uncertain if the previous two were killed in a similarly mysterious manner." Hoping for answers as to the death of their cow, the Bates family have offered a $2,500 reward to anyone who can provide information that might provide a break in the case. Meanwhile, authorities in Alaska are also investigating the killing, and tissue samples from all three downed animals have been sent for testing. While Tangy may have put forward a rather fantastic theory for who could have been behind the mutilation, Scott Mugridge of the Alaska Farm Bureau offered a slightly less nefarious explanation for why the cow might have been killed, suggesting that it could have been an individual looking for cheap meat, since groceries are getting pretty doggone high.
I think it was last week's show we
to
covered
say.
the cattle mutilations. I thought we solved this 100%. Didn't we talk about this last week? Wasn't it all the government testing? I don't know.
I love my cows.
Oh, that's awesome. I
Why?
like that cow.
Why do they hurt the cows?
No.
Because they taste delicious on
They
a
want the
barbecue
fillets.
bed.
You didn't hear that. Uncle Chris is not being
all I
mean.
know is
He's
that if
not.
I ever get abducted, I want to go with the cattle mutilation guys, because I'm going to say you can have all the intestines and everything you want. I'll take the steaks. All right, let's go.
That is
for it.
utterly ridiculous. But like how
Good
I
one,
did that.
Katie.
Okay, I like the way you say phenomenon. It makes me think of phenomenon. Dun, 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 dun. Phenomenon.
Phenomenon. Dun, 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 dun. Phenomenon.
I don't know. I think it is the aliens. I really do. I don't think any cult's going to come along and like make laser cuts and, I think that'd be sloppier.
It's certainly not anyone that decides not they're going to grocery shop at Wegmans and decides to go out in the field and do all that work. I can tell you that.
Because that's
it's easier to go to the Piggly Wiggly.
That's crazy stuff. Well, good news. I mean, good news segment. I wouldn't say it's good news that the cows are being mutilated, but very good news that you brought us this week.
Yes, thank you, Chris.
I'm not quite sure what you said.
What about Bob's hearing? Did we catch up with Bob?
Wait. Don't we have a case?
No, wait. Oh, yeah, case of the week.
Wait. Don't tell me. Do we have case of the week?
We do have case of the week.
Who's been drinking on the show?
No, that's the problem. I think I need a drink on the show.
Yeah. All right. Case of the week this week. I need my glasses for this. Okay. This is a really good one, actually. This actually occurred the Thursday of the MUFON International Symposium in Denver. And it was very, very thoroughly investigated by none other than my assistant state director. And we had photo analysts kind of going back and forth on this, whether this was a drone or something unusual. So it's case number 123373. It occurred July 7th, 2022, which again was a Thursday, 11:10 p.m. in Denver, Colorado. And this is the witness. It said, above our hotel in downtown Denver, the night before the Mutual UFO Network conference is held, this bright light stopped and started and hovered for minutes. It was not a plane. It was not a drone. I've seen hundreds of those online, and it felt exactly like a UAP. This video was over 4 minutes long, so I had to chop it down for our program's sake. But there's 2 videos I'd like to run, 2 photographs, and then we'll talk about the conclusions of the case. So, Amanda, if you could please run video 1.
We have a UAP. It's changed directions. Of course, it would be right over top of the hotel. I love it. Don't go behind the building. Oh, it's coming this way now.
So it goes down behind the building, and then he walks around the side and he picks it up again. So, and this one's shorter. So, Amanda, if you can run the second video where he goes around the building and he continues to see this.
There it is. That's a UFO right there.
Okay.
Wow.
So what's interesting about this is in the city of Denver, so our investigator reached out to the police department in Denver, and they're pretty strict about their drone regulations down there. You can get big fines. You need a license. So basically the investigator's summary says, is the object cited and filmed in this report a drone, or is it an unknown object? I was unable to find any drone or UFO reports that were filed with the police department. So we got a letter from the police department. Drone pilots are required to file flight plans, but not everybody does this. So the city of Denver prohibits all flying objects, including drones. Of course, there's exceptions for special events or other activities, but you need permits pulled. Of course, like I said, not everybody follows those rules. This was filmed over right by the symposium, right over the Rocky Mountain News building. And then the investigator goes on to say that the iPhone 13, which was used to film this, has a mini camera utilized to make this witness video on July 7th. It says photo forensics reveals that this object is of round shape with a flat circular face centered on the forward facing side. So Amanda, if you pull up photograph 1, there were no signs of any fan blades, rotors, or air disturbances over in front of the object, which would have led the investigator to choose a drone. The iPhone 13 mini camera is susceptible to certain lens artifacts, one of which is called color quantification. I concluded that the red, green, and blue color effects within the white light objects are not anti-collision drone lights. It is a lens artifact called color quantification. This video provided a perfect model to demonstrate the color quantification effect. So the conclusion to this case is that this is an original, unaltered video. No clones were detected. The object is clearly not a drone, a plane, or a helicopter. And the investigator was 90% confident through all the analysts and research that this was an unknown UAV. And what's fascinating, talk about synchronicities, I get a message today from somebody who was also attending the symposium, and they had photographed some unusual little orb lights. And so photograph 2 shows these, and he said that the photograph does not do it justice. There's 3, 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom, over the same building at a different time. And he said they looked much clearer with the naked eye, and the photograph didn't do it justice. So I thought that was a weird synchronicity that just came up today. So what do you guys think of this case?
Well,
Go ahead, Cookie.
Okay. Well, I mean, at first when you said it was July 7th, right?
Yes.
So at first I thought, okay, is this going to be a leftover fireworks, picture, which can obviously happen around that time, but definitely not. It's not moving like fireworks that I've ever seen. At first, I really thought it was a helicopter because there was so much noise, which I guess was like road noise behind them. But then towards the end, I wasn't hearing that, kind of helicopter blade sound. I was really suspicious of what looked like a red flashing light in that last shot as it was going away. Could that be the color quantification thing that they're talking about?
Yeah, I think that's what they were. That's what they were talking about.
So, yeah, I don't know. That's towards the end, I really felt like it was a plane. But you're saying that they checked records and that they would have known.
Yeah, it wasn't a plane because it was hovering right over the building at low. I mean, it was kind of not too far above the building, but there was no helicopter noise. And the way it comes in and it hovered there and then went up and down and over.
I mean, that's not acting like a plane unless it could be 2 separate things.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And according to the witness, it was one, and like I said, the video was much longer, so you could see it's the same object. You can clearly see it's the same object. And the thing with drones too, even if it's like a toy drone or a smaller drone, I don't know if they can travel that far. Like it seemed like it traveled at least a couple miles. So that's
I don't know how long the batteries are lasting in them now, but if you
20 minutes. Drones can go as long as they have line of sight, nothing's blocking. They can go for a pretty good distance, but I will tell you, I don't think that's a drone. One, it was pretty low enough that they have to have their collision lights on, and there's no signs of any type of collision lights, none whatsoever. And that drones, when they stop, they kind of jerk a little bit. They're kind of awkward.
Yeah,
they don't make a nice smooth. Yeah, exactly. And they don't make a smooth. This was very smooth. And so I first thought, okay, let's rule out a Chinese lantern, which definitely not a Chinese lantern. Yeah. And then let's rule out, maybe a low flying plane, not a low flying plane.
Right.
And then, you have either drone or an alien craft. And I don't think it's a drone. I think what Katie said is correct. I think it's a UAV and unknown.
Yeah.
Unknown. Yeah, I'm leaning.
There's a chance.
I'm leaning with Seth on this too. And he did he do his work on this. Yeah, go ahead.
That moment where it just really blinked out. I mean, I have seen clouds make something look like it totally blinked out, but that really did seem like it just literally went black.
Yeah, and it would get bright and low. Yeah, it's very unusual. So pretty cool case. Yeah,
very cool.
What does Bob have for us this week? Did you catch up with Bob?
Bob had some great cases. This is one of many cases that are coming up that blew my mind. Amanda, you want to roll Bob's?
Hi, everybody. My name is Bob Spearing, and I'm MUFON's Director of International Investigations. I'd like to thank Chris, Katie, and Katie for having me on each week to do some photo analysis sometimes, and sometimes to bring you other interesting things. We have a great case going on right now in Pennsylvania. It's definitely a case of interest, and the field investigator's name is Jay Albertson. Now, I got a call from our chief investigator in Pennsylvania, Dan Medlicott. And Dan said, Bob, you got to talk to this guy. This is a great case. Woman claimed in June, somewhere in the middle of Pennsylvania, we're keeping it a secret right now, she saw a bright white light come down into her property. Jay Albertson went the next day and took some readings. Let's look at the first picture that he took. In the old days, in the 1960s, this type of thing was very, very common in Australia. They were called UFO nests. If you look at the picture on the left, you can see 3 circular indentations in the middle of the depression in the field. The picture on the right shows it further away, and you get the impression that the size of the circular area is almost 2 yards. Possible to be a drone, a very heavy drone, a very big drone, and what would it be doing in the middle of rural Pennsylvania anyway? But the story gets better. Let's look at the next picture that shows the close-up of 3 indentations inside the main circle. If anybody would be able to identify this, we'd love to know at MUFON. Let's go to the next picture. This is where it gets a little weird, and it's going to get weirder. Jay Albertson has a military background, and he has an awful lot of equipment. He brought his FLIR camera with him, and he took a temperature-related photo of the circle. And as you can see here, the green shows that the circle is hotter in the area within the circle than the surrounding area, which is blue. Blue always denotes a colder area when you use a FLIR camera, and I would encourage any field investigator to pick themselves up a FLIR camera, which can attach to the bottom of your iPhone. They cost about $150, but it's a great tool. The next day, Jay Albertson, as well as the witness, began to break out with skin irritations all over their body. Jay had what is called a GQ-GMC 600 radiation detector. And as you can see, the important thing here is the word medium. With a Geiger counter, there's 4 different ways to analyze radiation because there's 4 different types of radiation. If you were going to investigate something with alpha radiation, anything over 100 clicks would show that you're going from normal to medium. He used a different scale, and he was in the medium range. If you look above the Geiger counter there, you can see one of his sores. He took pictures of the sores, but some of them are so graphic that they can't be displayed here. So what we have is a really, really interesting case of interest. We have an old-fashioned 1960s Australia-style UFO nest. We have heat inside the circle, and we have trace radiation that affected the witness and the field investigator. So this is going places, this case. That's it for today. I'd like to thank again Chris, Katie, and Katie for having me each week, and I look forward to seeing you all hopefully next week. Bob Spearing signing off.
Wow.
Great case. Thank you, Bob.
It's an awesome case.
That one should make the journal.
I will tell you this. Bob allowed me to see the pictures of the injuries the man had, and they look very, very similar to ionized radiation burns. Which,
that's not good.
And it corresponds with the radiation that was found at the site. So you have physical injury, you have the Geiger counter going off at medium, and you have the 3 spots in there, which absolutely, as American World Warrior said in chat, I would agree with him and say that those could be anti-gravity amplifiers, actually doing that in the ground. So I think this is a legitimate landing. I think this is a legitimate case. And I'd like to find out more about his physical injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like we always say, be careful. So many people want so badly to get up close, to a craft. Be really careful.
Right. I am curious how big those 3 round circles are that look like they had something in the middle too. Like they were like donut shaped. How big were those? I wonder. That's a really interesting case. I hope it makes a journal. But I think this is a good segue. I think it's time we bring on our special guest, Linda Zimmermann. What do you guys say?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let's read a quick bio here. I know Linda's been a guest before, so I'll make it short. Linda Zimmermann is a research chemist turned award-winning author of 30 books on science, history, the paranormal, fiction, and of course, UFOs. She has lectured across the country and has appeared on numerous TV and radio shows. Linda starred in the documentary In the Night Sky, I Recall a UFO, which was based on her research into sightings in the Hudson Valley of New York. Linda's research points to the possibility that this region may be the most active in the country. So welcome back to the show, Linda. It's wonderful that you're here with us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course. I would just kind of like to start off the show by recapping the sighting you had when you were 19 years old, which I love this sighting because it's highly unusual and it involved a police officer and a robe, if I recall correctly.
The infamous red furry robe. I should have kept that. I probably could have put it in the
museum.
Pine Bush Museum. Yeah, UFO museum at this point. Yes, I was studying for a college exam and got a call from a friend a couple of towns over saying that something's heading your way, go outside. So I run out in my red furry bathrobe and it was 3, I didn't see a structure, but I saw round. My boyfriend at the time remembered it yellowish. I remembered whitish, but there were 3 of them in a V shape, separate craft, and they're heading away. And I was like, let's follow them. So his friend and he jumped in a car and we go driving after him. And they split up. One heads to the north, one continues east, and one goes to the south. So I'm like, well, what are we going to do? And I was like, no, we can't go home. And I had remembered in a book seeing UFOs over this lake in State Park, Harriman State Park. It's about 20 minutes north of us. So we went driving up there. I just thought, hey, UFOs were there before. Maybe they'll be back. So we sat there in the car. I'm still I didn't change. You don't put on clothes just to go chase a UFO. You go chase a UFO. So I'm sitting in my bathrobe with these 2 guys, and we see the craft from the north is coming back, the craft from the south is coming back, and the one from the east is now heading west. Wow. And they're coming together very close to where we're sitting. We're sitting right by this lake and right on the edge of the lake. And we're upset. We're like, oh my God, they're going to collide. There's going to be this horrible crash. And they did come together in this really brilliant greenish blue light and became one object.
Wow.
Now, I was taking college physics classes at that point, and we didn't learn anything in physics on how 3 objects become one. Like that, and it lowered onto the top of this hill, and this incredible pulsation of this greenish blue light. This is the point when the state trooper pulls up, and here's a 19-year-old girl in a bathrobe with 2 guys in a car in an isolated section of the state park. And I knew we were on thin ice here, so I was like, look, I started to explain. I said, just turn around and look. And he turns around And his expression, he's just like white as a sheet, shocked, because he knows this is something highly unusual. And he just said, go, get out of here, get out of here now. So we took off, and he blew by us. He did not want to have anything to do with that craft. And it's probably a good thing he showed up and made us leave, because I was ready to jump out of the car and in my bathrobe and slippers run up this mountain in the dark to see what was up there. Probably wouldn't have come out good for me.
There's radiation burns. You gotta be careful.
Tripping over a log in the middle of the night with no flashlight. So yeah, many scenarios, none of which was probably good. So yeah, that at that point, I always believed in UFOs because I grew up in the Hudson Valley, and there's just so many. But until you have that irrefutable sighting, there's always that little bit of doubt in your head, and doubt was gone at that moment.
Wow.
Yeah, I had my first sighting in the Hudson Valley too, but
yeah. Katie, we can't hear you. Are you muted? I don't know if she's muted.
She's muted.
Oh,
anyways,
no.
I had my first sighting in the Hudson Valley too. Scared the bejesus out of me. I was sitting on a dock in Tuxedo Park, and that area is infamous for all kinds of sightings and things of that nature. But Linda, I want to ask you a question. You have been researching this for tons of time. I mean, you know more about the Hudson Valley and New York sightings than anybody in New York State. What brought you to believe or to put out one of the best cases you had? Tell us about one of the best cases you said, you know what, this tops them all. This is the cherry on the ice cream.
Oh, one of the top cases. I think we'd have to go to the start of the Hudson Valley wave in 1983, March. It was the very early part of that 6-7 year stretch of massive triangles the size of a football field or larger. And there would be thousands of people every night. The nights of March 17th and March 24th in particular, I interviewed so many credible witnesses from all sorts of professions, teachers and elected officials. And in the Brewster area on the 17th, there was a massive craft hovering over Route 84. And that is a major highway in that area. All the cars had stopped. Just imagine wherever you live, one of the most dangerous highways, everybody suddenly stopping their cars and getting out. That's how remarkable this was. And this craft was about 10 feet above the top of a tractor trailer.
Wow.
So can you imagine something the size of a football field 20, 30 feet over your head? One woman in Connecticut gave me the best description of her sighting during this time. She said the entire sky was metal and lights.
Wow.
And I'm covered in goosebumps every time I say that. Talk about life-altering experiences. Thousands of people saw it that night, and it happened again on the 24th. Again, thousands of people. The Taconic Parkway, Route 84, many highways, people just pulled over. And if you didn't have a place to pull over, you just stopped your car in the middle of the highway and you got out because it was that captivating and mesmerizing. And I think those two nights, if they don't put the Hudson Valley on the map as some of the most intense, incredible sightings in all of UFO history, I don't know what. It really blows the Phoenix lights out of the water. Not that wasn't an incredible thing, but that was a typical night of the week.
Wow.
For the Hudson Valley during those years.
Yeah. And it's something that you're right. We don't hear as much about this case as we do, say, the Phoenix Lights, not to minimize that at all. And the detail they must have seen, did they see like writing or piping? Was it completely smooth? I mean, because if it's that close and there's that many people, what was the description? Was there details?
And some people described it as smooth and gunmetal color. There were so many different craft too. That I really need to impress upon people, because they'd got the name of the like the Westchester Boomerang or the Hudson Valley Boomerang. There were dozens and dozens of configurations. And when people try to tell me it was an experimental craft, secret black project. Okay, maybe you make one version, maybe you make two versions. Did you make 78 versions? Where are you storing 78 craft the size of football fields? It's absurd. Smooth. Some people said it looked like Tinker Toys. Some people said it looked like the underside of a bridge with the girders. People saw pipes just sticking out straight. Bizarre configurations. So it really did run the gamut. I generalize it and say triangular shaped craft, the size of football fields, but there were also discs and cylinders, and somebody said one looked like the Norelco razor, the one with the three pivoting heads.
Yeah.
What is that? The Norelco razor UFO.
We're being visited. But one of the amazing things down in the Hudson Valley was that you had people standing right next to each other, and they were seeing different things. They were looking at the same object, but they explained it. I mean, there's this phenomenon where one guy says, "Hey, the shape was this," and another person said, "No, you're wrong. The shape was this."
Yes.
What's that all about, then?
Yeah, this is one of probably the top case that challenges your whole sense of perception. It was Cornwall, New York, which is a beautiful town on the Hudson River, and it was summer of '92. And I have to thank Kathy, who I think might be watching tonight, for this remarkable story. Long story short, it's a beautiful summer night. People are out, kids are playing, and suddenly there's this massive circular UFO so low over a house they thought it might crush the house. Okay, that's low. Circular lights around the perimeter, brightly lit circular craft. Now there are people standing in the street, as you said, shoulder to shoulder, who are looking at it, and they see a black triangle with a white light in each corner. How does that happen? Yeah. Was it really a circular craft? Was it really a triangle? Was it neither? Was it something else? And there's Kathleen putting it, her house. And a million thanks again. This story, it's just incredible, and so many witnesses. The majority saw the circular craft, but there were those people who would probably swear in a court of law today it was a black triangle. What are you talking about? So how does what does this say to UFOs and our perception? Can they manipulate it? Do minds see different things? You could probably write a whole book on just this case.
Yeah. Well, can you guys hear me now? I'm so sorry. It's same thing happened last week. I don't know why that keeps happening. The aliens don't want me to talk about this stuff. Angelia Shear, that was her big thing, is human perception. And that is a huge part of what we have to take into consideration as investigators. Switching gears just slightly, I'm wondering how much you think about, is it really the location? Like anybody could be in this location and they're all going to see this craft? Or is it certain people seem to see things wherever they go? They seem to always live in a haunted house, even if they move 10 times, so I'm just kind of wondering, how much you've thought about that. I know that you in particular are very sensitive. We'll probably get into the ghost hunting in the next hour. do you think that could be from your sighting, or did you have the sighting because of who you are? I just wonder how much you take all that into consideration.
The shorter answer is yes to both. Sometimes it doesn't matter who you are, it's the location, like in the Hudson Valley. You know, truck drivers and physicians and anybody who lived in the area on any given night, you know, could see something. But then there are absolutely people, as you said, wherever they go, high strangeness follows. I had a friend years ago when I was doing paranormal research, and she said, sensitive people are like lighthouses in the dark. And things are drawn to that, because if you're whatever you are on the other side of, you know, that dividing line between the living and whatever it is, and you are trying to get a message through, or you just want to be acknowledged, you're going to seek out those lighthouses. You're going to seek out the people. You're not going to waste your time with someone as dull as a brick. You're going to seek out the people who you have the best chance of communicating with.
That makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. Didn't you witness in 1988 a V-shaped craft also? Was it as big as the one that was witnessed by thousands there?
Yes. A friend and I had been in Upper Orange County, just went out to dinner with a friend. I think it was a birthday celebration. No drinking. I should point out, I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I'm a vegetarian. So anything I see, I can't explain through medicinal things. But yeah, we're driving home through the town of Washingtonville, which I happen to live 10 minutes from there now. I lived farther away then. And I'm driving and the windows are open, beautiful summer night. And she says, "What is that?" Now, we were both scientists at the time working at a medical diagnostics company. And I look over and it's a V shape of lights. I can't recall if there were 5 or 7, but huge rounded lights. The lights themselves had to be the size of a car. Bright, but they didn't beam down. They didn't propagate down to the ground. They didn't light up anything beneath them, which is kind of strange. And perfectly silent. It was one craft because you could see the thin outline of this black V to which the lights were attached. And it just silently, smoothly glided. It was the eeriest thing. The hair just stood up on the backs of our necks. And you're like, okay, we are looking at something very unusual here. You felt it as much as, you know, your rational mind saying does not compute to anything, you know, we know. You just felt it, and it just silently glided off. I put the pedal down and tried to follow it, but it had gone over some woods and we lost it. But yeah, if I close my eyes for more than 2 seconds and think of it, I just see it, and it's all, I can still feel it. I can still feel it after all these years.
That's absolutely amazing. We're running short of time because we're going to be going to the break, but I'm going to throw this out here. We'll pick it up on the other side of the show. There's something that we talked about, and I was absolutely amazed when you told me about it, Linda, is that you've had near-death experiences. I think 2 of them. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
We got 3 minutes before we go to break. Why don't we start that and we'll pick it up on the other end of the break? Why don't you tell us about the first one if you feel comfortable?
Sure. I needed emergency heart surgery. And the surgery went well, except my heart got very, very weak, and I pretty much went into heart failure after I got home. And everything was, I could feel myself slipping away, and the EMTs are there, the cops are there. And Yeah, I'm kind of hope I don't get choked up here, but I suddenly I was cold. I was miserable. I felt awful. And suddenly I was in this warm, bright, colorful place. And it was so soothing. And I was like, oh my God, thank God I'm at complete peace. It's like for the first time in my life, or I guess it wasn't in my life, I just felt completely wonderful. And I knew there was people behind me, and I'm trying to turn around to see who was there with me. And it felt like a pair of hands on my back, preventing me from turning around. Like, no, it's not your time. Don't turn around, because they knew if I turned around, I would never go back. And then, and I really got the sense it was my dad. Gonna start crying.
Oh, wow.
And the next thing I know, the EMTs are working on me, and a cop shaking my shoulders, yelling, "Don't you leave us yet, Linda." Because they know I had gone, and I came back, and that happened. I don't remember, 2 or 3 times at that point before they stabilized me and got me to the hospital.
You know you're in trouble if they say, "Get your ass over here."
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for
That
sharing
was amazing.
That's
Thank
very,
you.
very personal. I mean, that must really change after you go through something like that. We only have a few seconds here that's left, but that really has to change how you move forward in your life and how you view death even. And I kind of want to pick up after a break there. Yeah. But let's really quickly mention, I want to get into paranormal and some other topics, but you did write the definitive guide, basically your newest book on the Hudson Valley. It's kind of, right? Didn't you combined several books into this one? I mean, we got about 15 seconds. If you just want to talk about that, we'll go into break.
Yeah, I combined my first 3 books, and it has a 4th book full of information. So it's basically 4 books into one. It's a huge 8.5 by 11 hardcover, almost 500 pages. Everything I've dealt with and know about the Hudson Valley is in there.
And you can get that on Amazon. All right. We'll be back after break. Hang in there, guys. We'll see you on the other side.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
MUFON is the voice of thousands of like-minded people who want to see change. We speak up against UFO secrecy. We engage governments and agencies around the world on the topic. We share information with the public through our journal, website, newsletter, social media, and even our own TV channel. When you join MUFON, you add your voice to the cause. Few things are more important in our time than understanding the UFO question. Join MUFON. Find your friends.
Hi, I'm Austin Butler from Baz Luhrmann's new film, Elvis.
Tomorrow, all of America will be talking about Elvis Presley.
As a blood donor himself, Elvis shared the gift of life with patients in need and asked others to do the same. We're encouraging you to give blood this summer. Please visit redcrossblood.org/Elvis movie today to learn more.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, You are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
There's my dance partner. Okay. All right. Yeah. So Linda, you kind of touched on it before break, kind of this, well, Katie asked you the question, is it the person, why some people's perceptions are maybe a little bit different. You talked about your near-death experience and something I find really interesting. I've been studying, I know you're a scientist and you're all, about science, data, you really come from that background. And I think that's super important. And I thank you for your work in that. But some books, The Spiritual Doorway to the Brain, Parapsychology and the Unconscious. There's several books written by PhDs about this topic of disassociation, trauma, and paranormal events, including near-death experiences as being a traumatic event that opens up some sort of pathway to the brain that allows us to experience some of these high strangest paranormal UFO connection, spiritual spirit guides, however you want to label it. Have you looked into any of that? And what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I've certainly seen it, in my own life, but I've seen it in my paranormal work where people have intense paranormal experiences, whether it's a ghost or, any kind of high strangeness, and it does open it up. It open them up. It does change them. And I see it also in the UFO field when someone has an intense experience or often an abduction, they come away with new sixth sense or enhanced sixth sense, different, clairaudient, clairvoyant. They get these new abilities. I think everyone is wired for that. It just often needs some attention or some spark, or sometimes I think these blasts of energies, it just like blows open the channels and, some people keep it, some people lose it. It's like anything else. If you're afraid of your abilities and you don't pay attention to them, you might lose them. But if you nurture them, they can get stronger and more attuned.
I wonder, once you see something, you can't unsee it. It's part of you. And it's a truth that you can't deny. Like you said, some people might try to deny it, but it's there. But what if they, whoever they are, what if they are trying to activate us? It's not just, I've seen something now, my whole paradigm has shifted, but they're like, we are letting you see us. We are activating you. Now you have a job to do.
Yeah, I think on many levels, they could include ETs. They could include beings of higher consciousness. I think I actually have to laugh when, in recent years, some researchers say, I think some of this has to do with higher consciousness. Ooh, yeah. How about going back to ancient India, thousands of years? People have been doing that. How about Buddha? People have been using their own abilities to transcend and attain higher consciousness. Of course. Where have you been? I'm sorry. I hope I'm not insulting anybody on the show.
No, bring it on.
But, there's magical discoveries of higher consciousness. So yes, that is a huge, huge part of it. I've been a daily meditator for 45 years now. So it's something and that's long before I got into anything paranormal or UFO. It's just something, it's where I live and breathe, is in my meditation, and then, whatever states I attain through that.
Do you think that opened you up to some of this if you did this pre-dating the UFO interest?
I think it made me a prime target. And plus I go out and seek it. So, if you train for something and then you go out for it,
manifest
what you ask for. Yes.
So, well, here's something that's, Eric Davis had said, apparently he was brought to Area 51, Eric Davis. He was touched the craft, and he turned around and he said, this is all about controlling this craft. It's all about consciousness. So consciousness with remote viewing, we know remote viewing is real. We know people do it. We know there's a consciousness with remote viewing, with communication, everything of that nature. So with all that, Linda, what do you think about maybe these beings, these crafts are interdimensional, as opposed to, because we're now exploring different dimensions. Scientists are saying that there's different dimensions all around. And could it be that maybe we're just not, instead of looking out there, which we probably do have civilizations, maybe we also have civilizations with different dimensions?
Yeah, I think we have to look everywhere is the simple answer there. But absolutely, I think there are nuts and bolts craft, as much as people, hate that concept. There are, because consciousness doesn't knock branches off trees and make crop circle, or depressions in the grass. And yes, there's absolutely, and I don't know that I would classify them as aliens or extraterrestrials. They're just beings of different levels of consciousness or different dimensions. We live on the tiniest tip of the iceberg, I think, of what's out there. And I think the more you expand your consciousness, the more you will see the possibilities, at least.
Well, I want to ask you this because, as we mentioned at the top of the show, that you're not just a UFO investigator, but also very much a ghost hunter, an all-around paranormal investigator. And, talking about the whole interdimensional thing, Ann Strieber, Whitley's wife, got countless letters from people saying that they were seeing dead loved ones with alien beings. And at first I thought, wow, that's, pretty out there. But if we are dealing with something kind of interdimensional, without getting religious or anything, what exactly is heaven and where exactly are these aliens? And, I think it stands to reason that they could be working together. And since you have a passion for both fields, I was just wondering if you had come across those, two different things blending together.
Not a single case, which is very interesting. Interesting in its lack. I have interviewed people who have had an intense experience, an abduction or whatever, and as I said, they become more psychic, as a blanket term for that, and then maybe have the ability to contact loved ones who have crossed over. But I've never, ever heard of any case of seeing a dead loved one on a craft. I don't know how that mechanism would work.
Right.
I'm not denying, people's accounts, but not part of my experience at all.
Gotcha. You haven't had a witness telling you that in particular. Okay.
What do you think about the idea that people have been downloaded? A lot of abductees have said they've been downloaded with information. They can't pull it, but they've been downloaded. What's your take on that, Linda?
Yeah. Oh, yes, definitely. I've interviewed some people who things like, I used to be terrible at math, and after my experience, I love doing mathematical equations. Where'd that come? A lot of people suddenly become interested in astronomy. Wasn't it the Allagash abductees became very creative afterwards?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't remember details. Do either of you, any of you?
I believe so. And I know that Dr. Leo Sprinkle, in his book Soul Samples and all the work he did with contactees and abductees for over 40 years, that was something that a lot of people talked about, that they felt like they were, once they kind of got through the trauma or PTSD, or they're opened to the fear part of it, that they often feel like they're on a mission or a task, whether it's, and it differs. It could be scientific, it could be environmental, it could be just generally talking publicly like we're doing here on this podcast about the phenomenon. It runs the gamut of things. So yeah, I think that's really fascinating. And I just really too wanted to comment, Linda, on what you said about, this concept of consciousness not being a new thing. That's certainly true. I mean, this has been around, when you go back and look at they've been talking about this since, the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, the frequency consciousness and all that. So I want to talk about frequency and magnetism, because that's been coming up almost every week on the show. And that kind of goes into the portal theories and this interdimensional thing. What have you done any work with magnetism, and what are your thoughts on that?
The only magnetism I've dealt with is the electromagnetic fields in some of the locations where these events happen. If that's what you're to what you're referring, often, we know about, there's catalogs of electromagnetic effects from these encounters, and that's a huge part of my book on animal reactions. I might have touched on this or spoken about it on the last show, but there it is. Animals are so remarkably sensitive to electromagnetic fields, even slightest deviations. They navigate by it. They just do everything by magnetic fields. So I think that is a huge reason why they are so fearful and disturbed when a UFO is around, because I describe it as, it's like you or I on a carnival ride that takes you up and down and spins you all around. I think it's incredibly disorienting. Animals, especially prey animals, they don't like anything new. They don't, they want to know their environment is stable and where the predators are. And suddenly the magnetic fields are being affected.
That's true.
Your car gets stalled, your TV screen goes blank. What's going on in the brain of an animal?
Right.
At that point.
Yeah, there was just a really great show. I think it was on either Amazon Prime or Netflix, but it talked about animal reactions and birds. And this goes down to like a quantum theory. And I think it was our guest, James Keenan, talked about they see high strangeness and activity heightened for paranormal things in like an 11-year cycle because of the solar flares and stuff, how that cycles. So I just find that really interesting.
Yeah, the quantum level it's a protein in the eye of birds and most mammals, and we have it as well. It's called cryptochrome 4. And there are very detailed quantum level explanations for it. But essentially what it allows things like birds and pigeons, carrier pigeons in particular, but I think all birds actually, you physically see the magnetic field. Like if you're looking north, they'll see a curved gray line. And the more they turn, the arc of the magnetic field change. It's like literally road maps imprinted on the sky.
That's so cool.
It is fast. I just love the science of it. I mean,
well, our producer Amanda brought up bats, and their echolocation and everything. And I wonder what it's like for them, like if it literally can sound different. I mean, who knows?
Oh, yeah. I mean, every animal you can name has probably had a reaction, but and fish too. not only magnetic fields, but vibration. There's a great case from Arizona in 76 where a craft is coming over the lake and the fishermen's fishing poles are rattling against the side of the boat from some vibration, and fish for hundreds of feet around are jumping out of the water.
Wow.
Forget the worms. Yeah, right. Just use, that's it. Magnetic fishing poles.
Yeah. Hey, invention.
But who knows what's going on underwater with USOs? And it's hard enough to see a UFO, let alone study the marine life's reaction. So there's, most of the earth is covered in water. What's going on with the marine life under there that we don't know? So that's a huge chunk of the UFO puzzle that we're blind to.
Yeah. We've still got a long way to go there. Is James Cameron still doing a lot of underwater work? Do you know? I know that was his big thing for a long time. Well, we don't know, but I want to switch gears a little bit here, if you don't mind. I know you're a big Civil War buff. I'm very curious, and this is getting into more ghost hunting. I think we can bring it full circle because I am convinced that the two are related, ufology and ghost stuff. But I was at a place called Octagon Hall in Franklin, Kentucky, which I love. It's one of my favorite places to ghost hunt. On a ghost box, I was able to ask for a name, and I got a soldier's name. And one of the people running the ghost hunt found a soldier's log and said the name was on there. It was pretty cool. It was one of my first ghost hunts, and it was pretty exciting. But one of the things that we did, one of our tactics, was to do reenactments, to literally dress in period costume and act out scenes and everything. And I think it was really successful. And I'm just curious, like, some of your tricks for some of our viewers that are really into investigating, what you find most successful.
Sitting still and being quiet. Yeah. That is my most successful technique, and patience. But yeah, it's interesting you brought that up, because sometimes it's just how you're resonating with who's there. It drives me nuts on these shows when they start screaming at the ghost. It's the ghost of a 90-year-old grandma who was the sweetest person on earth. And they just start screaming, "You give us a sign." I'm like, that is not the approach. You approach, if you have an idea of who's behind the haunting, try to reach them on their level. There was an amazing case, again, just 10 minutes from me in Washingtonville, where the family was very scared because they kept seeing this figure of a man. He was never threatening, but, you're at home with your kids and they're seeing a man, they're going to be scared. And this friend of mine, Barbara, who's just the most amazing psychic, I just show her a picture of the house. I don't tell her anything. And she says, she knew right away that there's a fireman living there. And one of the previous owners was a fireman killed in 9/11. And he is there looking out. I'm getting goosebumps. He is there looking out for his brother fireman and just trying to make sure he and his family are safe. I get choked up again. And so we checked, and absolutely, previous owner was killed, a fireman killed in 9/11. So obviously they resonate. Did the guy buy the house subconsciously? This spirit wanted him to. Some people, they say they feel drawn to the house, maybe because there is that resonance. Could we have dressed up as firemen and brought more of a reaction? Yes, but it happens naturally. Like is attracted to like often in these situations. So it's a very good tactic, but I started out with, so long ago, it was a cassette tape recorder and a 35 millimeter film camera. There's probably some young people. What is film? And what is a cassette tape? And started to get every gadget. I got gadget crazy. And then I realized I was spending more time with my gadgets. I mean, nobody calls me up and says, "Oh my God, my EMF meter is off the charts." They say, "No, I heard something, I felt something, I saw something."
Yeah.
And I think your five senses and whatever sixth sensibility you have are your best pieces of equipment, which doesn't mean you shouldn't be recording things. Always get audio and video recording of everything. But, I'm serious about sit still and be quiet and pay attention and listen to what the homeowner or the site owner has told you. Do your research on the history of the house and concentrate on the areas and at the times of day and times of year where the activity really happens most.
Yeah. Well, and Chris has got a question, but I just want to make a quick comment. You are so right about just being quiet, because there's nothing worse. If you're on a 10-hour ghost hunt, well, you have 10 hours of audio to go through, and you're probably going to need to take it an hour at a time. There's nothing more frustrating than when you know your friends were talking in the background. I mean, it's maddening.
Yeah.
So be really still, and if you make a noise, just label it. Because that will save you.
Yeah. I'd either go alone or with my friend Mike Warden, who at the time was a cop, and he's now a judge and a great ghost investigator. And he and I knew each other's routine, and we'd be quiet. And if one of us had to sneeze, we'd say on the recording, I just sneezed. Sorry.
Yeah.
That was my Chinese buffet gurgling in my stomach. You have to say it. And groups just don't work. It's too many.
I'm going to be honest with you, Linda. I'm not crazy about ghost hunting. If I didn't talk to you while you're alive, I certainly don't want to talk to you while you're dead.
You might not have any choice, Chris. I might come back to see you.
Listen, I'm glad I'm not psychic, because if I didn't like you when you were alive and didn't talk to you, I certainly don't want you coming back and talk to me afterward. Anyways, this brings me a story, because I'm not a ghost hunter, but my friend he's a 20-year Army veteran, and we used to go every Saturday morning for breakfast to our favorite diner. And Saturday, I would have nothing but a cheese omelet and sausage. And I mean, that was the highlight of my Saturday. So it was boring life that I have. And so we're sitting there at the diner, and this waitress comes by, and he goes, "Did you see the little kid behind the waitress?" And I'm like, "Chad, what kind of drugs are you on? Come on, man." He said, "No, there's a little girl following the waitress." And I'm like, now I'm getting like, dude, we got to get out of here. Okay. I forget about my cheese omelet. I'll go home and try to burn some toast. But I mean, he literally said that. So being the investigator I did, and he's been a ghost hunter. It's just, so I went back to the diner, and I kind of made some inquiries. And this waitress had a child that died. And that freaked me out, because he said it was a little girl, and it was a little girl that passed away. So ever since he's told me, yeah, I saw this and this, I believe him and stuff of that nature. But why is it, or I should say, what is your hypothesis why ghosts come back? What is it that draws them? Because being a novice, I want to know why some of them hang around and some of them don't come back.
Yeah, I think if I had to put it into one word, I'd say regret. Years ago, somebody said, what's behind this? I just took 100 cases that I had worked on, a random 100. And I think it was like 60% was suicide. Another large percentage was accidental murder, sudden death. People weren't prepared. And then there's that percentage where people are not ready to die, or they meant to do something and didn't, whether they felt guilty about something. Wow, I really treated this person bad. I never got a chance to make amends. I never told the person I loved them. They're, unrequited. It's just, I'd say 99, I could probably put it in the 90% is people with regrets. Quick story about that. I'm already getting the goosebumps. One of the most remarkable cases I ever worked on in a big Victorian house in Liberty, New York. And long story short, they were seeing an old woman and a little boy and a little girl. And they would see an empty wedding dress floating around the house. That's unique. Again, long story short, we went and investigated a couple of times, and we brought a psychic who said the little boy and the little girl had died in an epidemic and were being taken care of on the other side by this old woman who, she said over and over again, regretted never having children of her own. And I'm this is a very emotional one. Something drew me to the attic. These talk about your quintessential Hollywood dirty cobweb attic with nails coming through the rafters. And people think it's such an exciting, glorious thing. It's filthy. I am crawling on my hands and knees in these rafters. Why am I doing that? And I find this dusty book covered in dust, stuck back in the rafters. I pull it out, I dust it off, and I can't read it. It's too dark up there, but I can see there's handwriting. So we bring it downstairs. And it was a woman who lived in the house around 1912, I think, in that time period. And I'm reading the words. She's trying to advise somebody about getting married because she had been left at the altar. Oh. She never married. And she's talking about, I think the holidays are coming. And she wrote the words, "I ain't got no one to call me mom." Aww. We were all in tears. I still get choked and that was it. That was the regret that held her there. She wanted people to know she lived a very sad life, all alone, died in the house at an old age, and did take care of children in the neighborhood to ease her loneliness. And after reading those words, the activity stopped. She was never seen again. The kids were never seen again, because that's what she had been trying for years to get through to people. And somehow she got the message to me to crawl in that attic in the most unlikely spot to find the words she had written over 100 years earlier.
So people just want to be heard even after death. We just all want to be heard. Isn't that something? So, Linda, you've written several books on paranormal and ghost hunting. Is that correct? Like volumes?
Oh, like 18 to 20, I think. Yes, I have the Ghost Investigator series. Okay. There we go. That's volume 1. Much younger then. Yeah, that goes back many years. So I think I have 13 or 14 volumes of that. I have a couple of travel guides, one of haunted places in the Hudson Valley, one of America's historic haunts of all 50 states. So yeah, maybe it's only 16 or 17 of them. But
what do you think of orbs? Because we have orbs in ufology, right? Like that we think are possibly tied to craft or scouting, like these orange orbs that maybe are scouting vehicles or whatever. But then we have ghostly orbs, and I know a lot of them. I too, like you, and I think Katie, have done paranormal investigations, and a lot of those can be, dust,
right?
Really dusty places and bugs. But what are your takes on orbs, and what do you tell the readers of your books about orbs?
I also caution them that probably the majority that you do not see and photograph are dust or some sort of particles. It's amazing how many orbs you get in a rain and snowstorm outside. But I think in the paranormal world, they're energy. They're some sort of spiritual energy. We were at a very haunted location in Hawthorne, New Jersey, and there had been a double axe murder in the 1850s in the house, and the activity, particularly on the anniversary of the murder, is very high. And we're sitting in the kitchen. It's me, Mike, my husband, his girlfriend, and I'm like, "Is that a light outside?" And it was very small, probably the size of a golf ball, but an intense bright light came through the window, and just the four of us are sitting at a table. It just whizzed right between us, and phew, and gone. It's like, and you could see everybody moved in the same way. Like, what was that? And it was the anniversary night of the murder. So I have no doubt that was part of the spiritual energy that is connected to this location.
Yeah. So if you just see it on photographs or cameras, it's probably dust or bugs. But if something you see with your eyes, then gotcha.
Right.
Well, yeah, and sometimes I think at least 95% of orb stuff I've seen, I'm like, there's always an explanation. But I have seen videos where, I mean, the movement is like there is no bug that can get from one side of the room to another in that speed, But I've seen very few of those personally. I want to talk about scary moments on an investigation. A lot of investigating, whether it's UFO or ghost hunting, is just kind of sitting around silently for hours and hours and then reviewing, what you've got, obviously. I don't know that I've had any really scary moments on an investigation, but there have been times when I've got the volume cranked and I'm just listening to hiss just for any little EVP, and then one comes through and then I just about jump out of my skin. I had one, a woman was living in a cabin and she's like, I'm just getting so much activity out there, and nothing happened on the day. But there was one question I asked. I said, I was trying to say, yes or no. Are you a man? Are you a woman? Are you older? I said, are you a child? And nothing happened on the day. But when I listened back, I said, are you a child? And it went, surprise.
Oh no! No!
I called
Why do you ask these questions?
I know. I get literally all my hairs are standing up. I'll find that EVP and I'll pull it out. It's sometimes those playback moments that made me go, why was I even in there? But I'm just curious, what has been some of the most alarming moments you've had?
I've been physically grabbed and threatened and noises and all that, but to just tell you about one of those listening to playback moments, I'm sitting in this very chair, it's like watching paint dry. You're just, hours and hours of nothing. And this was a prison in Ulster County, New York. And I put recorders all around, and so I'm listening to the audio of one of them at the end of this cell block, and nothing, and all of a sudden, Sarah. What? Whoa, did I just nod off and dream that? Play it back. And I immediately call one of the corrections officers who had gotten us into this prison, and he's like, well, I said, I didn't want to say, listen to Sarah. I just said, what do you hear? He goes, well, it's a guy saying Sarah, whispering Sarah. So he asks around, and before his time in the early 70s, he talked to a corrections officer who worked then and said, this particular, I think it was second floor west or something, cell block, would you know why there's a Sarah? Because it was a men's cell block. And he says, oh, yeah, I know Sarah, what that's about. In the early 70s, this is not a good story. A man was in there in prison for abusing his daughter. Mm-hmm. And he asked to make a phone call, and he called his wife, and the daughter's name was Sarah. And he just kept saying, please ask Sarah to forgive me. I'm so sorry what I did to Sarah. Sarah, please tell her how sorry I am. And the officer said he had a very strange look on his face when the phone call was over. And 45 minutes later, they found him hanging in his cell, dead. And that is where I had put my recorder. In front of that cell. And we got the name Sarah. And nobody could have faked it because nobody there that night knew of this story. Only somebody, 50 years earlier who had long retired knew that story.
Okay. I got to sleep with the lights on tonight. Anyway, Let me ask you a question back to UFOs.
Sure.
At least I can shoot those things out of the sky, maybe. Anyways, I just got some information today, and I don't know if you heard it or not or something, but I wanted to share this with the audience and stuff. I heard on the news that the U.S. government is really actually coming out and eliminating, those 5 things Lou Elizondo talks about?
Mm-hmm.
They're eliminating Russian and Chinese crafts. They're saying it ain't them. And also they're saying that the Chinese and the Russians have lost planes and pilots in dogfights with them. That's incredible. I mean, that's big news if that is true. But I heard it from 2 sources, news on the radio, and I had to stop the car and I go, "Are you kidding me?" and stuff. My question to you is, Linda, you watched the Congress disclosure garbage, right?
Yes.
You saw that
that farce.
It was a show. It was just a circus. But I want to get your take of it.
I don't think if they thought it was Chinese or Russian technology, they would have these open hearings and be talking about it in that manner. I think it would be very hush-hush behind closed doors, frantic. What are we going to do about it? I think they obviously know it's something not in that list. It's not theirs. It's not ours. So what does that leave? Yeah, I also saw a news article headline that Congress is basically admitting it's probably ET. It's something
That's big.
Extraterrestrial. That is huge. I didn't read the whole, I just saw the headline shortly before the show. So I would like to get somebody on the record that this senator or this congressman is saying that. I don't know. Did they name names?
No, they did not. But if you look at the history of ufology, you look at the Foo Fighters back in World War II, the Chinese didn't even have a plane. We had to bring planes and pilots over there, So, I mean, you got to rule out the Chinese.
Right.
I mean, the Russians didn't have to piss in. And, and so I should have said that the other way around. Anyways, they didn't have a pot to what in. So, I'm sorry, Cookie. So the bottom line is that it can't be the Russians either, because we had to give them all our own stuff. So if they had this technology way back then that was flying around, they would have used it on the Nazis. They would have used it on the Japanese.
Exactly. It's, every step of history along the way since World War II. No, it wasn't them. It wasn't us. So, yeah, we're still trying to get over that.
Right.
I see we're all still laughing.
When you're done, you can answer the question.
Yeah. No, it is not ours. It is not theirs. I think they realize it. And the Foo Fighters was a great precedent-setting, thing there. It's clearly been going on for a long. I always go back to the mysterious airships of the late 1890s and the early 1900s. Again, we didn't have planes flying at night. There were like a handful of planes in the country. So what was it that was flying at high speed, hovering, shining spotlights down on cities? Wasn't the Chinese or the Russians, and it wasn't us.
Yeah. So, Linda, why do you think now? Like, why is all this coming to the forefront? Why is the congressional hearings happening? Do you have any theories on that?
The government doesn't act, I think, unless there's it's going to come out on its own anyway, and they're trying to, we're on top of it, or they feel threatened somehow. I think that there may be something inevitably coming out, and they're just trying to set the stage that, to try to control the flow of information.
Yeah. That sounds likely.
Oh, So here's a question. We were talking earlier about, the interdimensional aspect. And, we always wonder on this show, have they been here all along? So many people think that. Is it possible that they are mostly existing, or at least some of them? There's probably countless different things visiting us, but, maybe some of them that we see most often are existing in a dimension where maybe they don't have time, and maybe they can kind of blink in and out of our, earthly time. The way they seem to blink in and out has just always made me think about that. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely possible. There's several cases where startled witnesses watch something shrink down to a pinpoint and disappear, or some strange shape, like a circle suddenly appears in the sky and the craft goes through it, and then everything's gone. So clearly there is some dimension jumping or distance jumping that seems to be going on. What the physics is behind that, I couldn't even speculate.
Who knows? You mentioned meditation earlier, and that's a really big part of my life too. And there was one time, I don't tell too many of my personal stories, but this one isn't too out there, I don't think. But I was visiting with one of my guides that has shown up a few times, and we were talking about time. And I thought I was being very smart when I said, well, I know time doesn't exist on Earth. And this guide very quickly corrected me and said, yes, it does. Where we are right now, there is no time, but on Earth, there is time. And I was annoyed because I thought I knew it all, which is another reason why I know meditation takes you to a real place, because when they argue back with me, I'm like, wait, this is my brain, right? But the guide very plainly said, you have to have time on Earth, or if there's not, like, if you don't run out of time, you're not going to get done what you need to get done. So basically, Earthlings have to have time. It is just a parameter you have to have, or you won't do your job. But yes, you can go somewhere else where there's no time. And that really stuck with me. And so I've just thought about that a lot when it comes to, whatever's visiting us, whether it's ghostly or, alien. I don't know. But just a quick comment.
Comment. I like it. I want to talk about abductions.
Okay.
Let's are the abductions increasing? And I've never been an abductee. I'm kind of hoping they abduct my wife one of these days. But I mean, I'm sorry. I just had to come out. But anyways,
it's so bad.
Abductions in the Hudson Valley, have they increased? You gotten any new stuff, or what's going on down there?
They kind of, I won't say completely stopped, but I really very rarely hear any anymore, and not to the extent and intensity. I get people now and then saying, I don't know if I had missing time. I think I might have, but nothing clear, nothing definitive.
Have you heard about suspended time, Linda?
Where
the pilots are now experiencing what they call suspended time. They're conscious. They know what's going around. If they get too close to a craft, they have come back experiencing what they call suspended time. They don't realize it, but time is actually stopped for them. What they think has been, 5 minutes has actually been a half hour. They come back and they go, wow, did you see that? I was chasing it for 5 minutes. No, you were up there, half hour chasing this thing. Wow. But their fuel, one of the most remarkable things, the fuel shows they only used 5 minutes of it.
Oh, so they and their plane are.
So there's a suspension. And that's something new that's coming out from the U.S. government.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Maybe some of these missing times are misinterpreted suspensions. I don't know. I'll have to look back at them.
It's like a warping of time. It's not so much that there's a big gap. It's just somehow not adding up to what they remember.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So Linda, have you noticed, I mean, I know Hudson Valley's really like the triangle shaped craft in that. And I think on the first show we had you on, you said a whole chapter of your book was on abductions. And that was a pretty common thing. But are you seeing an increase in New York now as far as sightings, or have things slowed down? And do you see this cycle that like we were talking about? Is it kind of ebbing and flowing?
Uh, I think since COVID started, there's been an increase, and I'm sure Chris would agree. There's a lot more the last few years, and I think a lot of that was people were home more and outside and actually looking up. But I think it is a real thing. It's not just a statistics game here. That activity does seem to be increasing the last few years. Yes.
I've got a question for you. What do you do with a witness that maybe says, well, I know I wasn't abducted. I saw the being. It was in my room. I told it to go away and it went away. You know, but as an investigator with a lot of experience, you're probably thinking, there might be a little bit more to this story. but you don't necessarily want to lead them. I mean, what would you do? Because we have a lot of investigators watching, and we are too. So, like, how do you handle that personally?
I get that all the time. I certainly haven't been abducted. I can tell you that for sure. And so I just gently say, okay, well, we'll get back to your experience. You know, they'll tell me about, and I'm like, how about when you were a child? No, I didn't. Oh, well, wait, now that you mention it. Yeah, you know, I did have some. How about family members? No. Oh, well, yeah, you know, my parents, my brother. And you start, and what happened after this experience? Well, this changed and that changed. And then, you know, the more questions you ask, the more they start realizing, putting all the pieces together. You usually get this stunned look, and they'll be like, "Uh-oh," you know, maybe I never thought of that before. Oh my! Some people are like, "Oh my God, I didn't." I'm like, "Calm down, you're fine." You know, just think about it. You know, and so you just let them speak. You let them remember things. You let them put the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah.
You know, there has been one or two cases where somebody will tell me their entire life's history of clear abduction, missing time cases, and be denying it everyone. And, you know, like, and still not me. And I will just say, like, yeah, let's agree to disagree on this. You know, that's your experience. I can't tell you what you experienced, but I tend to think there's something more. So just keep an open mind to it. No, I've never told anybody, I don't think, you've been abducted, you know, and they work it out eventually on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Linda, have you seen with your abduction cases that it's multi-generational?
Absolutely.
I'm seeing a lot of that now.
Absolutely.
When I do get an abduction case, I can always trace it back with the family. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah. And the very first abductee I spoke to, you know, Gary, he had a lifetime of experiences since the 50s, and both his parents did, going back to the 1930s, and the children and grandchildren had experiences. And you just keep seeing it. You know, people have come to me and said, look, I know I've been an abductee my whole life, and I think my mother had, or my grandmother had something. But where they draw the line is it's happening to my kids now, and they feel helpless.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's scary.
That's when it becomes intolerable. It's one thing if they're doing it to you; when they're doing something to your kids that is scaring them, that's unconscionable.
Do you think they're playing with DNA with these abductees, that they want to see the changes? Because you see, if our hypothesis is true about the multi-generations, if you're an abductee and you have children and they're taking your children, then your children's children and stuff, they must be, I mean, the theory I have is that they must be doing something to the first abductee and a DNA change or something to see the progression along the lines. I mean, what's the reason for taking the, you know, children and children if you're not doing something?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I think you're absolutely right. Any scientist who's ever done a study on lab rats, you do something to the first generation, they have babies, you check them, you check the baby's baby, you know, that's what experimentation is all about. following a particular line of mice, rats, whatever poor animal you're doing this to see is it a drug you're testing? Is it, chemicals? Is it, DNA manipulation now? Gene manipulation. That's how you track the effectiveness of of what you are trying to accomplish, by examining generations in your experiment.
I think it's especially difficult with children when you suspect that they could be abductees, because it's so important not to plant it in their young mind that could be what's going on. They really have to get a little bit older, I think, and discover it for themselves. And yet you feel so protective of them because they're young and you know that they're frightened. I think that's the trickiest thing to deal with. Do you have any tips on that?
Wow. I would just say, your child best, and what's the best way to deal without scaring and traumatizing them more. If they come to you and want to talk about it, don't tell them you're crazy. You don't, just don't even think of it. Give them the level of support they need. And again, I can't give a blanket advice for that, because every child is different. Every experience is different. And just be the most compassionate, understanding parent you can be in those conditions.
Yeah.
Linda, have you noticed a military connection with these abductees? Because in my own research, I've noticed a lot of abductees or contactees do have military in their family. And also, do you notice any, what do you think of that Rh negative factor?
I haven't seen an inordinate amount of military abductees or military in the family. I haven't made that connection yet. And the Rh factor, I don't adhere to that. I've read some scientific papers, non-UFO related papers on that, and I personally don't think that's a valid issue. I might get hate mail for that now.
Good to know.
But the science in it doesn't hold up for me.
Okay.
Well, that makes sense and stuff. Hey, real quick, can I just? I have to do. I forgot to do this at the beginning of the show. I was tied up with Jerry's conversation. Well, I'm sorry. Hey, anyways, Friday, August 26th at 7 p.m. at the University of Albany on the campus there. I told them that I would do this. At Page Hall, they're going to have a showing of a Tear in the Sky. Tear in the Sky, and the Professor Kevin Kuth will be there to answer questions on it. So if you want to go see Professor Kevin Kuth and whatever, okay, a Tear in the Sky. All right, that's a great movie. It's a great documentary. And Dr. Kevin, he's an awesome guy. And I encourage you people, if you're near University of Albany, to go. Okay, I said that. Anyway.
No, that was good. Is it a documentary?
A documentary, yes.
A documentary, okay.
A documentary.
Speaking of documentaries, Linda, are you working on any new books? And do you have any conferences? What do you got coming up?
I am still doing things remotely. I'm still not comfortable with large rooms filled with people from all around. So I'm still, I can't risk. I can't risk it for my sake and my husband's sake. So not doing any large conferences. I have my own, I still do my UFO headquarters podcast. I'm doing some few lectures remotely. But as for books, I am in the early stages of a book on rectangular UFOs.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't think anybody has looked at that as a separate topic. And I'm finding there's something unusual, something different about the rectangles.
Well, you need to make a trip out to New Mexico and go visit David Marler's big historical research center, because I was just there over the weekend, and actually I was digging through and there's some sketches of these big rectangular house-like think so. There is a
Really?
lot there. Yep. So I would encourage you to make that trip because there's
I could.
You have a website too, right?
My website is gotozim.com, and I have, I don't know, 8-10 Facebook pages on all the different topics I'm interested in. So there's no lack of ways to find me or contact me.
Do you have a particular rectangle site, or that kind of sparked that idea for you?
There was a great sighting in Pine Bush in 2013. I interviewed several witnesses in different parts of town who saw it. I love the multi-witness, different locations. They didn't know each other. They didn't know anybody else was seeing it. But it was a massive rectangle floating right over the heart of Pine Bush, which is a very, very active area. And one woman described, look at the bottom, looked like the bottom of a glass bottom boat. Like she's almost seeing through it and rippling. And this other another witness was law enforcement. His dogs alerted him to it. So I'm always listening for that. And he just said it was massive rectangle, white lights around the perimeter, one red light in the center, which is what we hear with triangles as well.
Yeah.
Just the type of light configuration. And it was one of the earlier rectangle sightings in the, there's many earlier, but that kind of started around 2013, more common rectangle sightings.
Oh, wow. I can't wait for that to come out. That's something to look forward to, everybody. Well, I certainly want to thank you, Linda, for being our guest again. It's always fascinating to talk to you because you are so well-rounded. You're both scientific, but paranormal. And we all appreciate that very much on the show. So thank you. I want to thank all our listeners for tuning in tonight. And I hope you all have a great rest of your week. I want to thank Miss Katie Cook and Mr. Christopher DePerno and Jenna and Jerry. And I also want to thank our producer, Amanda Curran. Thank you, Amanda. You rock. And we will see you all next Tuesday night on MUFON What's Up. If you see anything unusual in the sky, make sure you report that into MUFON. You guys all have a great rest of your week. Bye.
Bye, everybody.